everybody, Pastor Andy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Great to be back with you. Had a few days away, had to take care of some personal matters, and we're going to start a brand new teaching today called Stop, Look, and Listen. No, we're not going to be talking about the railroad, but this is an important combination of words that I want to share with you. We're going to base this out of a scripture reading, Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. I want to read that for you, and then we're going to jump into our lesson. Hope this is going to be a blessing. Just a short little series, maybe 2 or 3 parts, but it's something that I want to, every now and then we just need a word of encouragement, and maybe even sometimes a word of challenge for the simple things that are right in front of us that we don't always recognize because they're right there. And sometimes we don't always pay attention to the things that are right in front of us. And sometimes we miss the most significant lessons of this. Hebrews chapter 12, beginning in verse 1, it just simply says, "Therefore, since we have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us," people are watching, people aren't paying attention. The writer says, "Let us lay aside every hindrance and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us." That's life. "Keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that was laid before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." Just a quick introduction today. As we look at this new lesson again, stop, look, and listen. What does that mean? How does that affect our lives in our daily walk? Well, in 1969, the year that I got here, but in the year 1969, there was a movie called The Change of Habit. Of course, starred Elvis Presley. One of his last feature films. He had some concert things and whatever after that. But this one was very interesting. He played a doctor and worked with some people in a nun place, and what interesting movie. Very, very good. I like it. But in one of the scenes, they're all in the room, and Elvis, of course, has got the guitar, and there's a really catchy tune playing. And it starts off and he says, "Stop, look, and listen, baby. That's my philosophy." So again, catchy tune. What is this going to, and it goes into, but so we see this phrase, of course, it's been used all over the place, not just in that song, called rubbernecking, but that's those combination of words, stop, look, and listen. Of course, it became known in the railroad industry. It is a serious thing there. And we'll talk about why that matters, because warnings have implications. Words have meaning. And we're going to be talking about that over this course of this study, because the simple principle that we find in these 3 words, they all point to one word: attention. Attention. What are we paying attention to? See, the writer here in Hebrews is painting a picture. In fact, a very clear picture of where we place our attention and why that matters. This phrase, word, combination of words, stop, look, and listen, it has an impact on everything that we do in this life, everything. And so when we look at this verse, it begins with the word therefore. That's a very common word. We hear it all the time. If you're reading, of course, you become very familiar with it. But important words sometimes are overlooked, especially common words. Therefore is one of them. When someone is speaking or you're reading a statement and you see that word, therefore, there's a real meaning there. And what that word means is for this reason. For this reason. In other words, here's the message. Here's what I want you to hear. So the writer here says, therefore, since we have such a great crowd, a large crowd surrounding us, that's key. Living out our witness, walking as we've been called to walk by the Lord himself. Well, it's not easy. It's not. Why? Because everyone sees it. Think about what he says here. since we have such a large crowd of witnesses, a large cloud of witnesses. All right, so what are we saying here? What's the message? As I said, living out our witness. Well, isn't our witness? Isn't that what we tell people? No, that's our testimony. See, there's a lot of times, especially within the church world, words get twisted and turned in all kinds of directions. And witness, I'm going to go out and witness to people. How? With your words? Because that's not your witness. Your witness is you. Your witness is your action, your life. What did you witness? You witnessed the crime scene. You witnessed the car wreck. What did you see? Okay, so if we're witnessing, what are other people seeing, not hearing? This is important, okay, because we're looking here. The writer is saying we have this large group, this witnesses surrounding us. What are they seeing? Because if they're witnessing you, think about this for a minute. Stop. Look. Listen. If they're witnessing you, what are they seeing? So the writer goes on and said, let us lay aside every hindrance, everything that so easily ensnares us. Stop for a minute. Hold on. We need to be mindful of the things that get in our way. What holds us back? What hinders our run? Stop. Give that a thought for a minute. When we consider the idea of crossing over a dangerous intersection or crossing a railroad track or anything like that, what do? We stop to see if it's safe. Maybe you're walking across the parking lot. I know here where we live, Walmart's not very far from my house, and you better stop at the sidewalk before you step into the parking lot because you might not make it to your car because people drive like maniacs. We have to be careful. We have to stop. We have to look. We have to listen. The writer here is saying, as you are surrounded by this cloud of witnesses, what he's saying is, all eyes are on you. That should cause us to pause for a moment as we consider walking out our faith, as we consider our words matching our life. Because when they don't, it just creates problems, okay? Because everybody's watching. This is not about being judged, although sometimes it evolves and moves into that, but that's not what this is really about. This is about understanding the importance of what I say versus what I do. Stop, look, and listen. So when we think about this great number of witnesses, we have to remind ourselves as we look in this lesson today, what are they watching? Because a witness is witnessing something. They're seeing something. Well, in this particular case, that's you. That's me. What the writer here is saying is, be mindful of that. Be mindful of what they're seeing. Stop for a moment. Pause. Is there anything that's getting in your way of creating a greater picture for them to see? We're not talking about perfection, and we're not talking about pious or snooty or, hey, look at me, how great I am, and I'm super Christian or super. We're not talking about any of that stuff because none of that's real. Okay? People want to see reality. They want to understand that you get it and that you've maybe found an answer that they don't have. And that's why it says, turn your eyes to Jesus. We'll talk more about that as we jump back into the lesson on Monday. Wanted to introduce you to this concept today, to this teaching series, Stop, Look, and Listen. I pray that it's going to be a blessing to you. I pray that it's going to encourage you because that's what my ministry is about. It is about dealing with the real stuff in a real way. Witnessing is not about what you say, it's about what you see. And when we understand this verse, you understand you are the show. What are people seeing? God bless you, friends. Lord willing, I'll be back with you on Monday as we kick off. Stop, look, and listen.